Hi, welcome to this tutorial on arrays, right? We are going to look at arrays in C# console application. So without wasting much time, let's go ahead and declare. So to declare an array, you need to declare an array data type. We have a string a data type array, we have an int data type array, and all data types can declare an array. So for the first time, I want to declare an array of a string, and that string array, let's declare it as let's say array 1, right? And we say equal to new string, right, like this. So this new string is just there to declare the strings or the string array as a new string, which means we are going to assign the values, and the values are going to be assigned as new string, not as a default string for the system, right? So after that, let's initialize an array. We can initialize it right here. Since it is a string array, you use a string like this. Let's say Bob for the first time, right? And you can see the array has got the length of 4. So this is the length of an array, which means the values of the array should be equal to 4. It should not be less than or more than 4. So the values we are entering here should be equal to 4. So let's go ahead and enter another one as same, right? And another one is right? And the last one, let's put it as Collins, like this. So this is the array declaration and initialization in C#. We have declared the array using this data type, and then these two brackets indicate that it's an array, and here we put the actual size of an array. So, and here we initialized our array right here. So that's it. So let's say you want to access the value or the array value at 0. You can say simply say console dot write line. What do you want to write is want to write this array 1 add indexing this index. So want to write the index 0, and when declaring an array, the indexes of an array starts at 0. So this will be 0, 1, 2, 3. So this the array of size 4. It will have 3 indexes starting from 0. So when you want this value, you can simply type console.writeLine the name of the array and the index which you want, and if we go ahead and run. So let's read the key right here, console.read key, so that it will pause the screen and display our result. Let's run this program or this project so that you can see what exactly is going on right on these arrays. Right, you can see we have this pop. Why? Because this is the value which is at index 0, right? That's it. So if you can go ahead and change the index to 1 or to 2, right? You can see index 2 we are going to see ino. So let's go ahead and have a look from the console window. Right, you can see we have this ino right here. That's it. So this means that we have the array working. All right, so this is the way you can access all the elements of an array in C#. So you can access them directly, or let's say if you want to display all these array elements, you can go ahead and repeat this statement, if you copy it, right, we want to put something for 0 right here, and go ahead and paste it for 1, and go ahead and paste it for 2 and for 3, right? By this way you are accessing all the values from this array. If you go ahead and run this, you will see all elements of this array, right? And let's have a look. You can see we have all the elements of this array. So this is a way, the longest way to access the values of an array. So let's say you want to enter the values of this array later in the code. Let's say maybe you are not aware of the actual values, but the actual values will be put at the runtime. So let's say you want to do that, you can only declare a variable in an array and not initialize without initializing it right here. So let's remove this initialization. So this is the another way of declaring an array. You can declare it like this, and you leave it without being initialized, so that you can initialize it later in the code. Right, so let's go ahead and try to assign these values using a for loop, which we have done in the previous video. So you are going to say for and say int a. Remember, this int which I'm declaring right here is the index of this array. Since the index of an array will be an integer, so we are going to use this a as an integer, or as the index of this array. So assign to 0, and a is less than 4, right? Then you say a plus plus. Alright, so what do you want to do right here? We want to assign the values of an array using the keyboard, from the user using the keyboard, not the pre-initialized array. So let's go ahead and you try to assign the values. So what we're going to do is we're going to say array 1, and the value at a, this is the index which we want to assign the value, is assigned to console dot read line, right, like this. So what I'm doing right here is we are reading the user input from the keyboard and then assigned it to an array. So let's go ahead and hit execute, so that you can see how this works, right? So you can see we haven't put some prompting text. So before initializing this array, let's write something so that a user can understand what do you want to do right there, right? You can use this console dot write line, and we are going to prompt the user, please enter the array elements, right, like this, and then you put a semicolon. Then if you go ahead and execute it, you can see it will be prompting the user to enter the array, right, the values of an array. So you can see, please enter the array elements. So what we're going to do is we want to put like chicks and hit enter. Since the index hasn't ended, you can see we are still continuing, like entering Rob. Then you can enter something like yen. After typing something, just click enter, right? You can see you can type something like t, like this, and if you hit enter, we've accepted all the values. And if I continue entering, hitting the enter button, it will disappear and it will close this program like this, right? Why? Because we've ended the array assignment. So to display this array which we have entered in a for loop, you simply use another for loop again. So let's just copy this and paste it right here and change this to B. You can leave it as a, but for it not to be confusing, you need to change this so that you can understand what's exactly going on. B++. So instead of this array entering values or the prompting code to enter the array, let's go ahead and type above here, let's say console dot write line, right like this, and say inside displaying the array elements entered, right like this. So let's go ahead and put the code right here. Let's say console dot write line. What I do you want to write? I want to write is the array at B, right? Now writing the array at B, since we are accessing the index of B right there, so that's it. This is all you have to do. So let's go ahead and run so that you can see what exactly what's going on right there. Right, please enter the arrays yen, king, on, and read, something like this. If you use this enter, you can see this displaying the array elements, and you can see yen, king, what, blah blah blah. So this means that we have entered the array values using the keyboard and displayed it using the for loop again. So that's it. This is what you have to do when you are entering the array values and displaying it using a for loop. So from there, let's move on to something like we want to change this data type to integer, right? And let's go ahead and say right here new int, like that, like this, right? Since you have put an integer right here, the console.read line will return something like in a string of which the data type right here is an integer. So to avoid this, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and remove all another code like this for loop, and this for loop will remain the same since it will be one and the same thing. So let's go ahead and initialize this form and say int a is assigned to 0, semicolon a is less than 4, and then a plus plus, like this, right? This is all, and what do you need to do is to create this, and this, what do you have to do right here? Want to read from the keyboard, so we are going to say array1 at index a, then is assigned to, since we want to convert the user input to an integer, we're going to use this int dot pass, right? And what we want to pass is the console dot read line, right, like this. And after that we use a semicolon right here. You can see the error is gone right now. So let's go ahead and run this again. You can put array 1 6 3 8. You can see 1638 is displayed. So this is all to about entering the array values using for loop. So right now I'm going to move on from this for loop to what we call for each loop, right? So let's go ahead and delete this. So I'm going to initialize this integer array with the values like 1, then 2, you separate with a comma, then 2, 5, and then 8, like this. So I've initialized this array with these values. So we want to use for each loop. And what do you want to do? To use for each loop, you have to just say for each, like this. And what do you have to do? You can declare something like int I, for each int I in, what do you have to do? Array 1, right? So what are you trying to say? We're saying for each integer, which means for each of these elements in this, what do you want to do with it? Let's say we want to display it. Simply say console dot write line, right? Instead of writing a array 1 at index something, which we were doing something like this. We were doing something like this. Array 1 at index let's say 2, or at index I, or at index blah blah. We are not going to use this way right now. Why? Because all this code, this array at bracket something, is being embedded in I. So we are going to simply write I right here, right, and put a semicolon. And if you go ahead and run this, you can see we will display all the values 1, 2, 5, 8 from this array on the console window, right? You can see the values are right here. So that's it. So if you want to modify this, for each loop is mostly used to modify the values of this array. So let's say you want to add a 3 to each element. So remember, we have 1, 2, 5, and 8. So let's say we want to add 3. You can see simply modify this by adding 3 to this I. So by doing this, you will have modified the array elements. So this is the the simplest way to modify the elements using for each loop in C# Windows Form application. You can see when there was 1, I added 3, this becomes 4. Let's go ahead and have a look on this line. This is 1, this is 2, and but this is 4, this is 5. So 1 plus 3 is 4, 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 3 is 11. So we have modified the elements of this array. So this is the simplest way to display the elements of an array using for each loop, since you are going to just use this declared variable right here. And remember, the variable being declared right here, it should be the same as the data type which would here, or which was used to declare this array, so that you can access the correct values of an array. So this is all about for each loop in C#. You will see some advanced tutorials on for each loop in C# in the next videos, where we will be applying this for each loop to the database elements. Alright, that's it. So for this, this is all you have to know, or you have to understand about for each loop in C#. Please, if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe to Zoom Programmer channel for more videos and more tutorials in C#. Have a nice time.